The High Magister presented two divine blades, allowing my senior brother and me to make our selection. One sword hummed with the roar of dragons, its light piercing the heavens. The moment it saw my brother, it burst from its sheath, eager to acknowledge him as master. The other was corroded with rust, devoid of any spiritual aura. It had been knocked aside by the shockwave of the first, lying lonely on the stone floor. I felt sorry for it. I silently picked it up, spending days and nights warming it with my own ether, polishing away the grime. In that first year, my brother's sword manifested its spirit, a gallant and powerful warrior who helped him sweep through our generation of disciples, unrivaled. I, on the other hand, guarded a rusty blade, exhausting countless rare treasures and herbs on it, which caused my own cultivation to stagnate. My peers urged me to give up on this piece of scrap metal and find a proper weapon. I paid them no mind, holding the rusted blade against my chest. It doesn't matter. If you don't wake today, I will nurture you for another day. As long as I am here, you are here. But when the Void Legion invaded, the rusted sword suddenly awakened. It radiated a monstrous, apocalyptic energy, transforming into a colossal blade capable of ending worlds. I drained my ether reserves, trying to climb onto its spine to escape the carnage. Yet, it swept only my brother onto its tip, tearing through the sky and abandoning me. I was left alone to be tortured and devoured alive by the void monsters. It turned out the broken sword had possessed a spirit all along. It simply refused to awaken because it didn't want me as its master. No matter how much I sacrificed, I wasn't worth half of my brother in its eyes. When I opened my eyes again, I was staring at that dead, rusty sword on the floor. Without hesitation, I kicked it backward, straight into the roaring flames of the smelting furnace. "Julian," I said calmly, "since this sword has clearly chosen me, you'll have to take the other one. Even though the other sword looks unassuming, who knows if it's hiding its true potential? It might reveal its edge in time." Julian Sterling feigned heartbreak, graciously yielding the other sword, the one that looked equally dormant in his eyes, to me. He clutched the blade he had picked up, the one with the sharp edge and cold glimmer, radiating immense power. Seeing Julian's act of painful sacrifice, the other disciples immediately jumped to his defense. The elder of the forge said that the simpler a sword looks, the more likely it is to manifest a spirit. Why should you let Asher take that sword? Clearly, Julian is more suited for it. Victoria Vance, the senior sister who had always doted on Julian, furrowed her brows in anger. "Julian, stop thinking of Asher for once, and consider yourself. Asher has mediocre talent. I will boldly request the High Magister to grant both swords to you. We can find a common iron sword for Asher later." My consciousness fully settled, and I realized I had been reborn. My gaze fell on the discarded blade I had now secured, the one vibrating in the corner. Although the forge elder had said those words, this blade was undoubtedly considered scrap by everyone else compared to the one I just kicked into the fire. Naturally, everyone believed the one Julian held was superior. Julian, however, was anxious to maintain his image. He frowned slightly, his handsome eyes dimming. "Victoria, although I like it, I want to give this rare opportunity to Asher." I stared intensely at Julian's handsome face. Seeing my gaze, his eyes darted away, his smile becoming strained. In my past life, I hadn't taken Julian's words to heart. I thought the rusty sword was pitiful. If I didn't accept it, the Magister would have melted it down. Everything has a spirit, even a sword. Despite its weak aura, its life force had been tenacious. So, enduring the mockery of my peers, I had resolutely chosen to keep it. I nurtured it daily with my energy, wasting precious resources just to help it manifest. I wasn't jealous that Julian's sword transformed early and brought him glory. I discarded my scrap metal day after day. But every time that sword absorbed my energy, it would tremble slightly and emit a subtle, malicious aura. Before, I thought it was just being playful. Now I knew. My very existence annoyed it. It was rejecting me. Thinking of this, I watched the sword I had kicked into the furnace burn. "It's just scrap metal anyway," I said. "If we're arguing over it, we might as well destroy it." Julian's brow instantly knotted, his voice rising. "Asher, everything has a spirit. How can you treat it like that? Aren't you afraid of shaming the Order with such behavior?" "I don't care," I shrugged. "Since you like it, it's yours. But I suggest you pick up quickly, or it really will melt." Victoria stepped in like a guardian angel, shielding Julian behind her, afraid I would say something else hurtful. "You have a handsome face, Asher, but your heart is venomous. Someone like you should be expelled from the Order." The surrounding disciples echoed her like mindless drones. I didn't expect Asher to be this kind of person. What a waste of my crush on him. Julian is the best. Asher has a heart like a scorpion, rotten to the core. Julian hadn't expected me to react this way. He bit his lip, his voice trembling, fragile and helpless. Asher, I know you care about what people think of you, but I have no ill intentions. I only want you to succeed so I can be at ease. This is a once-in-a-millennium treasure sword. I'm voluntarily giving it to you. Please take it out. I knew Julian would never keep a useless sword. An Etherblade cultivator could only bind 3 swords in a lifetime. He wouldn't let a piece of scrap occupy a valuable slot. Moreover, to make a spirit manifest, one had to nurture it daily with energy. Julian didn't have that kind of patience. I smirked. No need. If a spirit manifests, it counts as yours. It has nothing to do with me. Asher, are you despising it? It's fine. I can help nurture it. It is a life, after all. Julian lowered his brows, his voice soft and weak, sparking pity in everyone. However, the High Magister gave all the rare herbs and treasures to you, Asher. I don't know if my ability is enough. The disciples whispered among themselves. I felt speechless. The High Magister clearly favored Julian. Whenever we received treasures, Julian picked first. I only ever got the common, low-grade herbs. Julian was saying this just to make them resent me more and pity him. In his eyes, he was the long-suffering, gentle senior brother tolerating a bratty junior. But the next second, a cloud of black mist flashed. 10 phantom images rose with a cracking sound, piercing the crescent moon. Surging sword energy swept through like a tornado, shaking everyone's soul. Many were stunned by the scene. A sword is manifesting. It looks like the scrap sword. What scrap sword? That brings about celestial phenomena. That is a legendary blade. Accompanied by the wailing of 1,000 ghosts, a beautiful, ethereal woman stepped out from the fire, standing on the blade. She looked cold and detached, like a blue lotus. People's jaws dropped. My breath hitched slightly. That plain sword actually birthed a spirit. I curled my lips in irony. I used to think Saraphina only manifested because I fed her my energy. I didn't realize she could do it from the start. She risked being destroyed by the righteous path, exposing her true form early, just to beg for Julian's favor. In that second, I knew she had been reborn, too. Saraphina flew in front of Julian. The cold, ethereal beauty knelt on one knee like a loyal shadow guard, carefully lifting the boy's hand and planting a burning kiss on it. Master, I have manifested. You don't need to nurture me. Can I protect you from now on? The phenomenon caused by Saraphina's transformation was witnessed by the heavens. Julian took it all in. He couldn't suppress his joy, but he feigned aloofness and withdrew his hand. But you are Asher's sword. Saraphina became agitated, terrified of being abandoned by Julian. No, Saraphina has only one master. You. The surrounding disciples finally snapped out of their shock. That sword's manifestation is more powerful than even the High Magister's blade. Julian really is the chosen one. Some people must be so angry they can't eat. This world-ending blade only recognizes Julian. Julian hesitated, looking at me. Asher, although I know you really want Saraphina, and I want to give her to you, she only recognizes me. I really don't know what to do. I waved my hand indifferently. I don't care. I told you to take it earlier, but you kept hesitating. Now you don't even have to waste energy nurturing it. You can accept it with a clear conscience. Seeing my cold, lazy attitude, Saraphina's eyes held a trace of confusion, but she quickly recovered. Victoria, however, couldn't stand my sharp words. Stop pretending you don't care. You want it more than anyone. You're just playing hard to get. Before I could speak, Julian scolded Victoria. Victoria, shut up. Don't speak to Asher like that. Even if Asher wanted to snatch Saraphina away today, I would offer her up with both hands. As soon as he finished, the onlookers began to pity Julian again. What kind of life does Julian lead, being bullied by Asher like this? Don't worry, Julian. If Asher dares to steal the sword, we will seek justice for you. Ignoring their sycophantic noise, I turned and walked out of the great hall. From then on, the members of the order bullied me both openly and secretly. I was branded a thief. Everyone assumed I was plotting to steal Julian's sword. Putting bugs in my tea or pouring ice water on my bed became trivialities. They grew bold enough to swap my meals with pig slop and even lured vagrants into my sleeping quarters at night. But I didn't care. I focused on my training with a demonic intensity. In contrast, Julian lived like a fish in water. Everyone treated him as the group's darling, Saraphina most of all. Upon learning Julian was stuck at a bottleneck in his ascension, she traveled thousands of miles a day to the frozen waste to pick spirit herbs for him. Because Julian casually mentioned he liked a specific fabric, she ignored an army of thousands, broke into a mortal palace, and stripped the unique flowing light brocade, off an empress to give to him. To make Julian smile, she scoured the 3 realms for treasures. I couldn't believe the usually cold-hearted Saraphina could be so obsessively in love with a human boy, until I saw it with my own eyes. After training, I kicked over the slop the kitchen had sent and went to find actual food. The scene before me was startling. Saraphina, as noble as she was hunched over, making soup for Julian. Having never cooked, she looked like she was facing a formidable enemy, her hands covered in burns from splattering oil. Seeing me enter, Saraphina snapped her head up. She frowned, saying nothing. I grabbed a plain steam bun I found and turned to leave without looking back. My gaze was cold. I didn't spare her a single glance, but she seemed dissatisfied. After a long pause, she finally spoke, hesitant. "Asher, are you like me?" Before she could finish, Julian walked in. "Saraphina, what delicious thing are you making for me again? Look at your hands, they're burned." He looked at me, his eyes unable to hide his triumph. Seeing Julian, Saraphina's frown relaxed, her face unable to hide her joy. I walked away silently. Julian stepped forward and pulled Saraphina into his arms. "Saraphina, why are you so good to me? You know I didn't like the cafeteria food, so you went out early to buy my favorites and cook for me." Saraphina's voice was uncharacteristically doting. "Do you remember the Great Void War 10 years ago? You used your primordial spirit to keep a broken sword warm." Meeting Saraphina's expectant eyes, Julian froze for a second, then quickly looked delighted. "So that sword was you? I used a lot of my spirit energy to save you. How will you repay me?" Saraphina wrapped her arms around Julian's neck, looking at him with deep love. "From the moment I saw the jade pendant at your waist, I knew it was you. The person who saved me back then wore the same one." Julian looked enlightened. He touched the jade at his waist. "You mean this green jade? I've worn it since childhood. I didn't expect you to recognize me by it. It really is fate." Saraphina's voice was sincere, emotional tears filling her eyes. "Julian, I looked for you for 10 years. I almost thought you didn't want me. Don't worry, I will repay you properly." At the door, listening to Julian's words, anger nearly burst my chest. The Great Void War, 10 years ago? What a coincidence. I had quite a history with that war. I was the one who lost half my primordial spirit to keep a useless scrap sword warm. I never expected that sword to be Saraphina. After that, I became even more reclusive, spending my days studying alchemy tomes. I had just conceived a perfect formula and was heading up the mountain to gather herbs when I ran into Julian picking flowers. He was followed by a crowd of disciples. Seeing me, they immediately started mocking. "You look shabbier by the day. What kind of low-grade rags are you wearing?" Who knows? Probably hanging out with poor villagers too much caught the stench of the lower class. "How dare you come here to pick herbs? Don't you know this is Julian's garden? I don't want to waste breath on them. This is the Alchemy Division's garden. Is there a rule saying I can't be here?" Junior sister Tiffany was instantly triggered by my attitude. She rushed in front of me. "What is that attitude? Do you know Julian is the head disciple of alchemy? If he doesn't allow you to take anything, you have no right." I was momentarily speechless at their stupidity. I walked silently to the side to pick the herbs I needed, ignoring the idiots. "It seems I really need to teach you a lesson. Maybe then you'll learn that Julian is your senior, your superior." The next second, Tiffany cast a spell at me. Her incantation carried a fierce wind, shattering my protective barrier. I couldn't dodge in time and had to strike back. But Tiffany's fire spell was vicious, every move intended to kill. Sparks from her spell fell into the garden, and soon, raging flames consumed the flowers. I cast a water charm to extinguish it, but the fire was too intense. My efforts were a drop in the bucket. The herbs were destroyed, and even the rare exotic flowers cultivated by the alchemy elder were burned to ash. Julian and I were dragged to the High Magister's Hall of Longevity by the arriving elder. Above us, the High Magister's face was grim. "Asher, what is this? Why did you burn the garden? Do you have no explanation?" My eyes revealed a trace of impatience, my voice suppressing irritation. Instead of pinning the crime on me without asking, why not ask junior sister Tiffany why she used fire spells to attack someone in a garden? As soon as I spoke, Tiffany and the others exchanged smiles. The next second, Julian stepped forward. His tears broke like a dam, making him look pitiable. "Master, I thought that if I accommodated Asher, he wouldn't make big mistakes. But today, Asher started it. He attacked first, trying to harm Tiffany. We can all testify. Just because I didn't let him freely pick the precious herbs, he almost took Tiffany's life, ignoring the bond of our sect. They were colluding to frame me. I instinctively opened my mouth to deny it, but a surge of sword energy constricted my throat, and I found myself uncontrollably speaking words I didn't intend. So what? I burned the garden on purpose. I'm jealous that Julian has everything. If I can't have a good life, I won't let him have one either. Sword. Energy? It had to be Saraphina. Before I could cover my mouth, the High Magister's slap landed across my face. My cheeks swelled instantly, tears welling in my eyes. The surrounding disciples condemned me. He did something so terrible and is still so self-righteous, unrepentant, scheming, and vicious. We request the Master to punish this villain severely. The High Magister, who already disliked me because of Julian, was furious. He sentenced me to the forbidden cell to reflect on my sins, forbidding anyone from visiting. The sect avoided me like the plague. No one would visit. The only one who came was Saraphina. From our years together in the past life, Saraphina knew I hated the cold. So, she sneaked into the forbidden cell, bringing novelties she had collected from the mortal world. Asher, I had no choice that day. Saraphina felt some guilt for making me humiliate myself publicly, so she laid out all the items I had loved in my past life before me. I found her kindness disgusting. I smashed everything she brought onto her, shattering them on the floor. After enduring my violent temper for a few days, Saraphina lost her patience. I know, you must have been reborn too, but you know my feelings for Julian. You shouldn't have bullied him. I looked at her coldly, my eyes devoid of emotion. Oh, are you done? Get out. Saraphina was struck speechless. She stared at me for a long time before turning and leaving the cell. She never returned. I handed the high-grade pills I had synthesized to the new guard disciple and found an opportunity to slip out of the cell. But before I could enjoy a few days of peace down the mountain, I received a 1,000-mile voice transmission from the High Magister. His voice was furious. Asher, you dare break out of confinement and steal Julian's most cherished jade amulet? I give you 2 hours to return and plead guilty, or I will cripple your cultivation and expel you from the Etherean Order. The guard disciple hadn't sent word back yet, so I didn't know the status of my plan. Helpless, I had to return to the sect. Seeing me return, Julian looked on the verge of tears. He walked up and grabbed my hand. Asher, that jade has been with me since I was a child. It means everything to me. I can give you anything else, but not that. Please give it back. I hadn't taken his things. This was just another one of his framing tactics. Who took your stuff? Stop falsely accusing people. I forcefully shook Julian off. He lost his balance and fell backward heavily. Saraphina was quick, catching him. When she looked at me, her eyes were filled with hate. Asher Thorn, you've gone too far. I know you hate me. If you have a problem, come at me. You shouldn't have touched Julian. He is innocent. The disciples condemned me for disrespecting my senior, for harming my own brother. Even a usually peaceful High Magister flew into a rage. Enough, Asher. How long will you carry on this tantrum? This is not a place for you to run wild. It seems the Etherean Order can no longer tolerate you. You are hereby expelled. Leave immediately. I'd like to see who dares. As soon as the words left my mouth, I pulled out the Grandmaster's token I had prepared. I have been accepted as the sole disciple of the Grandmaster of the Order. If you want to kick me out, you should ask the Grandmaster if he agrees. The Grandmaster? The disciples gasped in shock. My current division, Celestial Peak, was just a small branch of the Order. How could it compare to the supreme leader of the entire sect? It really is the Grandmaster's token. But doesn't he never take disciples? Why would the Grandmaster reject so many excellent candidates just to take him? Someone who knows nothing and has a scorpion's heart. My gaze shifted to Victoria. The Grandmaster accepts disciples every year. It was all of you who gave up because his trials were too difficult. 4 men of the Etherean Order. You are all cowards who fear death. I then looked at Saraphina. From the beginning, my ambition was never you. You were the one flattering yourself. Saraphina looked anxious. Impossible. In the past, I had argued against everyone to keep her, nurturing her daily. To Saraphina, I must have loved her. How could I fall out of love so instantly? She didn't believe it, nor did she want to, but I had no intention of entangling myself with her further. I put away the token and turned to leave, but Julian blocked my path. Asher, surely you aren't so heartless as to leave your senior brother behind? I pulled my hand back silently. I was always just your foil. You aren't sad to see me go. You're afraid that after I leave, there will be no one left to prop you up and obey you. Now that I am the Grandmaster's head disciple, I am a full generation above you in rank. You will bow 3 times and knock your head 9 times when we meet. Do not try to claim kinship with me in the future, especially you. My gaze landed on Saraphina. I consider the past dead, but if you dare provoke me again, I will make you pay in blood. Saraphina was shocked by my words, her face pale, her eyes flashing with displeasure. I walked away with a cold face, hearing Julian sobbing quietly behind me. The onlookers could no longer sit still. Ignoring their beloved Julian, they began to worry about their own futures. Now that Asher is the Grandmaster's head disciple, who knows how he'll torture us? Celestial Peak isn't valued by the main sect. If we'd known, we wouldn't have conflicted with him. I received news that the Grandmaster would visit Celestial Peak personally. I packed my belongings early, ready to move to the main peak. But the next morning, I found myself locked in the forbidden cell again. No one answered my calls. I tried every method to escape, bashing myself until I bled, but it was useless. Saraphina's voice came from outside the door, low and dark. Don't waste your energy. You can't get out. I pounded on the door, frantically, my voice breaking with tears. The Grandmaster is coming to Celestial Peak. If you imprison me, aren't you afraid he'll find me and take his anger out on Julian? Saraphina walked in and pulled me into an embrace to soothe me. Asher, I cast an invisibility spell on you. No one can find you. I will decline the Grandmaster on your behalf. I won't hurt you. Just stay here obediently and wait for him to leave. I shoved Saraphina away violently. My slap landed hard on her face. Just for Julian, you'd ruin me like this? Do you know I didn't sleep for 10 days, nearly dying to pass the Grandmaster's trial? Seeing the dark circles under my eyes, Saraphina looked conflicted. I am sorry, Asher, but Julian is my savior. I had no choice. I raised my hand high and slapped her again, her face turning red. I was the one who spent half my primordial spirit to save you in the Great Void War. Saraphina clearly didn't believe me. She sighed helplessly. I've already confirmed Julian's identity. Why are you still trying to lie to me? I couldn't believe it. She spoke gently to comfort me. Asher, just wait a little longer. I'll let you go soon. With that, she left the cell. Outside, Julian's voice was still pitiful. Saraphina, thank you so much. If not for you, Asher would surely abuse his power to harm the disciples of Celestial Peak. Consumed by rage, I smashed everything in the cell. When I collapsed on the bed, exhausted, I found my limbs suddenly bound by layers of ice, unable to move. Under the moonlight, the ground was covered in slithering, wet black shadows. In an instant, countless swords gleaming with dark light, and terrifying lightning aimed straight for my heart. Seeing the lead sword, the one humming with dragon cries and cold light, my heart sank. My senior brother had taken 2 swords. This was the other one, capable of summoning lightning judgment. Had this blade also manifested a spirit? I couldn't move. The frost eroded my flesh. Why, when I'd always been kind, did people always try to drive me to extinction? On her way back, Saraphina was in a bad mood. She declined Julian's request to accompany her and returned to her room alone. Just as she was about to rest, Julian knocked and entered, sobbing. Saraphina, why won't you let me stay with you? Don't you want to protect me anymore? Julian cried pitifully. He had come through the rain, his clothes soaked, outlining his slender figure. Saraphina's voice was heavy. She turned away, but Julian hugged her from behind, his heaving chest pressing tight against her back. Saraphina, stay with me tonight, okay? After a long silence, Saraphina's hand finally rested on Julian's waist. She led him to the inner chamber's lounge and carefully removed his outer robe. Don't catch a cold. I'll use my internal energy to dry it. Julian sat on the lounge, waiting obediently. Saraphina took the robe to the outer room. Like a ghost guiding her hand, she touched the green jade pendant hanging on his clothes, rubbing it gently. Suddenly, her eyes widened. Why was the name Asher carved into this jade? She should have realized sooner. Julian was just an ordinary mortal. How could he recover in less than 10 years after losing half a primordial spirit? Thinking of my words today, Saraphina's eyes widened in horror. She threw Julian's clothes aside, grabbed the jade, and bolted out the door. Saraphina ran through the rain, rushing into the forbidden cell. Seeing the scene inside, the usually aloof woman felt panic for the first time, her hands trembling uncontrollably. By then, I had already escaped Celestial Peak. The peaks of the Etherean Order were far apart. The area was desolate. I searched for a long time before finding the right path. Just as I was about to be minced into meat by the 10,000 swords, I had swallowed the teleportation pill and reveal pill I had prepared. Fortunately, I hadn't given those 2 life-saving pills to the new gatekeeper disciple. And fortunately, Saraphina hadn't searched me when she locked me up. After riding a sword for half a month, I finally arrived at the main peak, Ether Prime. Just as I identified myself to the gatekeeper, he delivered devastating news. You've already been expelled from Ether Prime by the Grandmaster. Didn't you know? If you can say things like that, don't bother showing your face here. I really don't understand people like you. If you didn't want to be the Grandmaster's disciple, why sign up and then reject him, insulting him? I was confused by the scolding, but the disciple stopped there, coldly driving me away. I had to find out the truth, so I sat at the gate of Ether Prime all day waiting. Finally, the gatekeeper was moved by my shameless persistence. He spoke up to mock me. "You're the first person I've seen who dares speak to the Grandmaster like that. That day, you wrote a letter declining the apprenticeship. The Grandmaster cherished your talent and wanted to try again, so he went to Celestial Peak. But when he got there, a woman claiming to be your friend scolded him, saying no one under the heavens was qualified to be your master. Not even him. The Grandmaster was so angry he left immediately. The more I listened, the darker my face became. Was that woman wearing black robes with a black phoenix mark on her forehead?" The disciple nodded. "That's her, but she spoke too arrogantly. Is she really your friend?" Birds of a feather flocked together. "Luckily, the Grandmaster didn't take you. A disciple is arrogant, as you would be a disaster." I clenched my fists inside my sleeves. "Hey, your friend is here looking for you," the disciple said. "Stop bothering us and get lost." He slammed the gate shut. Saraphina had used such a despicable method to sabotage me, all for Julian's pathetic jealousy. I turned around. Saraphina stood not far away, staring at me blankly. I walked up to her and slapped her face again with full force. "Saraphina, are these cheap tricks all you know?" Seeing me, the usually cold and indifferent Saraphina actually had tears in her eyes. "I am sorry, Asher. It was my fault. I just found out that the jade pendant has your name written in celestial script." I shoved her away hard. "I don't want your belated pity. I will take the Grandmaster's trial again and beg for his forgiveness. If you know you're wrong, then stay out of my business." The Grandmaster's trial was excruciatingly difficult. I entered the terrifying forest once more. Saraphina silently guarded me from behind. After barely passing the audit again, I found Julian waiting at the forest entrance. Seeing Saraphina, he walked up, tears rolling down his cheeks instantly. "Saraphina, I missed you so much." Saraphina subtly dodged him, her gaze fixed on me, never leaving for a second. "I mistook my savior. If you want, I can compensate you with anything." Julian bit his lip, frozen in place. He glared at me with hatred, tears falling heavily. "Saraphina, is it because of the jade pendant?" He carefully took out half a piece of jade hidden in his sleeve. "That's because when I saved you, my primordial spirit jade broke in half. So I split the jade in two, one carved with your name, one for myself." Saraphina looked unbelieving. "So, actually, these two pieces are one whole. The one carved with Asher that day was actually the one you gave to him." I stood by the side and laughed out loud. "Relying on a piece of jade to identify a person, you really are stupid. Who says holding the jade makes them the person you're looking for? That jade was just something Julian had picked up by the roadside in the past." Julian got emotional. "I saved it back then, and my spirit is still damaged. How can you erase all my merit with just one sentence?" I was getting impatient, but Saraphina thought for a moment. She had never said that the person who saved her had expended their spirit. Yet Julian knew. The next second, the world around us began to twist. Black gas erupted from the ground like encroaching storm clouds. The sky suddenly turned blood red. No, it's the Void Legion. In this life, the invasion had come so quickly. I instinctively looked at Saraphina. The sky roared, and Saraphina transformed into the world-ending blade that could cleave all things, once again sweeping Julian onto her blade. She soared into the midair, carrying Julian to safety. In the moment of crisis, the person she thought of was still Julian, and I was left behind again. Julian looked at me smugly, the corner of his lips curling into a cold, sinister smile. Anger filled my chest. Was I to repeat the fate of my previous life? Would the mortal world be consumed by the demonic tide again? The next second, stars flashed, brilliant as diamonds. I flew into the sky, my body feeling light. He is a celestial. The disciples of the Etherean order widened their eyes. I wore divine, feathered robes, descending from the clouds. Saraphina couldn't believe it. "You are actually the High Justicar, the war god." I waved the feather fan in my hand, smiling slightly. Just a scrap sword that defected from the celestial realm has the audacity to join the void and invite a demon tide to boost its cultivation. The fan in my hand directed a gust of wind at Saraphina. A hurricane swept past, and Julian was blown directly off the blade. Saraphina tried to fly down to catch him, but a sword humming with dragon cries flew in, smashing a hole directly through Saraphina's blade body. "Alara!" Julian acted like he had grabbed a life-saving straw. "Alara, save me. I am your master, Julian." Alara ignored him, kneeling directly in front of me. "Lord Justicar, I am late to protect you." Saraphina reverted to human form, looking at the scene in disbelief. "Alara, you actually betrayed the demon lord. Back then, Saraphina had stolen Alara, and the two fled the celestial realm. But because Alara hadn't manifested a spirit, the demon lord only liked Saraphina, abusing Alara repeatedly. I was the one who accepted Alara and enlightened her, allowing her to manifest. Thus, having undergone multiple rebirths, Alara's power was far beyond Saraphina's. I smiled at Saraphina. Alara is abandoning the dark for the light. She relies on purification to increase her power. Unlike you, who relies on slaughtering living beings to gain murderous aura for cultivation. Having swallowed too much demonic energy, Saraphina had clearly gone mad. How can I become a world-ending blade without killing? It's you hypocrites in the celestial realm, suppressing a sword's nature, pretending to be noble and forbidding us from cultivation. I lifted my fan, and the demon tide slowly subsided. Everything has a spirit. Celestials never divide the world's beings into high and low. But in your demonic eyes, you view human life as grass just for the sake of one person. My descent into the mortal world this time was because the void was eyeing it hungrily, and humanity's time was nearing its end. I defied fate to change destiny, descending to protect the mortal realm with my own body. I didn't expect to accidentally find Saraphina, the demon lord's divine weapon who fled the heavens, and Alara, my own sword. That day she summoned so many swords to the cell, not on my brother's orders, but because she wanted to bind with me again. Alara, I said, did you forget? I chose you. I bound you. I am your true master. How could you help an outsider? Julian's voice was pitiful. Alara spoke coldly. Outsider? Who said I bound with you? With a heart as vicious as yours, are you worthy? My master is the war god alone. My gaze fell on Saraphina. Her eyes were anxious, searching for something on Julian. I just checked. Those two pieces of jade can't fit together at all. Julian's eyes darted around. How could that be? You must have seen wrong. Julian's jade was roughly made, clearly a counterfeit, completely different from mine. Saraphina's face went cold. You actually lied to me. The next second, huge tears fell from Julian's eyes. I approached you only because I liked you. Even if I'm not your savior, we had so many beautiful moments. Saraphina hesitated. Julian, why did you have to go this far? If you had just told the truth. Julian continued to sob quietly. My scrutinizing gaze fell on him. You have long birthed a heart demon. Jealous that I am more powerful and handsome than you. You repeatedly harmed me, even inciting others to say such vile things. Saraphina, hand him over, or I will flatten the demon realm. Saraphina hesitated for a long time, then shielded Julian behind her. You are a deity. Why are you angry with a mortal? I retorted, back when you were a sword spirit. Why did you repeatedly harm me, a human man? Saraphina frowned. You are now a high god. Why dwell on the past? He is just a human. This time, Alara spoke for me. Saraphina, you're still making excuses. You protect him like this only because he moved your heart. A vague piece of jade could deceive you? Could you really not tell from the start? The next second, Alara and Saraphina clashed. With the demon tide gone, Saraphina was naturally no match for Alara. Seeing Alara's sword energy incoming, Saraphina actually grabbed Julian and used him as a shield. Julian was pierced by Alara's energy. Like a broken doll, he fell from midair to the ground. Eyes wide, he died with grievances unresolved. Julian stared tightly at Saraphina beside him, trying to speak but only coughing up mouthfuls of blood. He seemed to suddenly regain memories of his past life. He thought Saraphina might have truly loved him, that like in the previous life, he could rely on her to enjoy glory in the demon realm. He never expected Saraphina would sacrifice anyone for herself. I sighed repeatedly. This was fate. When Saraphina fled the celestial realm, I knew she was cold-hearted and unreliable. So from the start, I never gave her half a sincere heart. Alara's sword energy struck Saraphina again. Outmatched and without a shield, she vomited blood and fell heavily to the ground. I timely reclaimed the primordial spirit I had used to save her. The demon lord. The demon lord won't let you go. I smiled slightly. Oh, as far as I know, the demon lord already has a new weapon. Besides, he made a deal with me. He withdraws the demonic energy, I withdraw my troops. The demon tide receded as if it had never been there. Life returned to its former calm. Saraphina died with open eyes. Only a few foul-mouthed disciples of the Etherean order died. The survivors bowed to me in worship. Long live the war god. Thank you, Lord Justicar, for overlooking our past offenses. We will fast daily and repent for our mistakes. Spending my spirit to save Saraphina back then was only because I had lost my memory and acted on my duty as a celestial. Regarding her fate, I felt only pity. I took the spirit energy I reclaimed from Saraphina and gifted it to Alara. You have a kind heart. You are more suited to digest my spirit than Saraphina. Alara accepted it in fear and gratitude, kneeling to thank me. I will cultivate properly, striving to temper myself into a celestial and become the High Justicar's attendant. I curled my lips and smiled aloud. But you must remember my face. I gave you the spirit to manifest. Later, Alara truly became my celestial attendant, and I continued to suppress ancient beasts with my divine soul, delivering salvation to all living beings, from beginning to end, deeply loving the common people of the world. Story complete.